Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wastelander, an ATF podcast. We're your hosts, Wastelanber, Filthy Moose, and Mellow. Today we have a couple guests with us, Jacklawish, Nova Phoenix, and Graggly.
So, Wastelander, you were the founding member of the Mori gang.
Yeah, myself
How'd that?
and
Yeah.
In-laws.
How'd you guys start it? When did you guys start the
So,
fan fiction?
I was outside of Creative View, and I was OOC running around like I usually do, and I saw this bunker, and there was stuff all around it, so I went inside it, and there was this guy in there, and he was
Yeah.
decorating. He was really good at it, and I'm like, "Hey, dude, this is a cool bunker," and we got to talking, and he said, "Hey, didn't I approve your bounty like a couple minutes ago?" And I'm like, "Oh
Oh
yeah,
no.
you did," because he recognized my bounty character. Uh, so we got to talking, and I'm like, "Yeah, I plan on starting a gang with this character," and he's like, "Oh, dude, I'll join." Uh, and that turned out to be a good friend, In-laws.
Yes.
We ran all the way over to the roadside bar and started the gang. A couple days later, we met Graggly in
Graggly.
yeah, right there. We met Graggly in
It was fun.
Boulder Cove. We got to
That's
robbing people
cool.
instantly. You
What?
remember?
Wait. What month was this?
This was late October,
Oh, geez, that
2019.
was a while ago.
It's coming up
Dang.
on a year.
So wait. Graggly was just chilling in BC, and you guys just ran into him.
I think I met a seal, Genghis, I think his name
Yeah,
was.
Daniel. Yeah,
Daniel. Then I stuck with him for a bit. Then I met Outlash and.
right. It was Daniel that introduced us when we were inside of a BC settlement, and
Mhm.
then we all worked together to rob a general store there.
Oh,
And
jeez.
then you
We
just
pulled it
you
off,
stuck.
too.
Yeah, it was real smooth. I don't think any of us got shot. I don't think we even had to shoot anybody else either. But
Yeah.
then Colt stuck around, which was your character. Mine was William Morey, and In-laws was Alan.
How'd you guys get Nova Phoenix in the like in there?
Nova Phoenix actually didn't show
So
up for a while.
Oh, really?
Go ahead,
Yeah, I
Greg.
showed up a little
yeah,
bit later.
it was a bit later. My character David came around. They were doing like a mercenary job or something.
Yeah. That was
Then he
with
hired.
Gulag, I think, right?
Yeah. And then we hired him and Shellshook, and then we slowly joined the gang.
Oh man, I remember that. I remember like they put they put us two into suits, right? And they put us under these tarps, and they're like, "Wait here, just as an absolute surprise. They're gonna like have this like Last Supper dinner with their enemy, just for like two massive behemoths to come out and bash their faces into the table."
So what kind of stuff did you guys do in the Mori gang? Like how'd the most of the robberies go? All that.
For the first couple of months, it was pretty quiet work. We stole by gambling with people and cheating the cards.
Yeah.
It didn't actually get loud until that one big robbery that you were involved in, Filthy. That was the first time that was the first time I met you, OOC.
The big score. Yeah, that was a great time. That was when we stole a Sir Andrew suit, like we talked about last time, right?
Yeah, that was probably one
That
of the
was
funnest role plays I've ever had.
Andros told me like multiple times, like, man, Moose, that was probably one of the most funnest like role plays I've had. Like I said earlier in the last podcast, you don't really have to like necessarily win in the situation. Your character doesn't have
Did
to win in the
you
situation. To have fun.
did you actually take his whole suit, or is it just parts
That
of
was
it?
the plan, but we didn't have the right materials to extract it, so we
I
just
mean,
we made a deal with
yeah,
him.
because
We made a deal with Sir Androv, and Sir Androv gave us some parts to fix Nova's suit.
That was me, Outlawish, Wastelander, Nova, Graggly, and Midlash, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Sometimes I get kind of fuzzy who was there. So like, I don't even remember. How did that all even start out? Like I remember Graggly, which one that came to me, and I remember you told me something about some kind of like big score we were gonna pull for Nova's Bandit Seal character, but at the time he wasn't a Bandit Seal. He just needed spare parts. So like, didn't we set up on the roof of the boat store or whatever, and then like we shot at Sir Androv or something, or we saw Sir Androv walking in like BC, and then we just, I don't know, shot at him or like had like a huge firefight with him.
I think there was one seal that we saw first,
Yeah.
and then Graggly said that there were too many people around him, so we waited for him to leave, and then walking up the highway towards the bridge was Sir Androve. So you got in a car and drove up there. We all started shooting. It didn't work because like one of us had a 338. Didn't work. He just kept standing shooting at us. And Liam got shot, which was Midlash's character,
Yeah.
and then Scrappy, your character, rammed him with a car and drove him
Yeah. I remember that. We were trapped on the bridge, and I got in the car, and I'm just run him over. So I ran Andrew over with my car, and he's like roll, like if we both go over the bridge, or roll for the success rate or something. And I got higher than him, and like we both role played. Like Andrew role played his seal just going over the bridge, falling off, getting flung by the car, and then Scrappy's car also went over the bridge. Luckily, I didn't get a broken spine, just got out, and then some guy shot me, and we had to get out of there. And like, didn't we drag Andrew? Like he was down for a second. We just like dragged him to the motel.
There was this big crowd.
No, we
that
dragged
showed
him to the
up.
boat shop.
Yeah, I remember that. He was like, I think he was arguing with us at first. He's like, you can't shoot us like you guys said. And then afterwards, he like wounded a quarter of us, I think. And then you guys got stuck on the bridge. I saw you run him over. And then that's when I think I got Dawson out. Because at the very beginning, I was just using Ivkin. And then you got dragged over. But like we gave him an ultimatum. I remember it was like really cool. Like we had everyone surrounding him. He was trapped under it. It was like, it didn't have to end this way. You could have cooperated with us. He just moves the car, drags him out. That was really cool.
What kind of state was he in after you actually hit him with that whole ass car?
I don't think he was too wounded. He was just kind of downed,
He was definitely
he was knocked out though. He was
incapacitated.
Yeah.
I think it crushed his arm, right?
Yeah, you know what? I think so.
Yeah, it did crush their arm because I remember like we held them up into the boat store, right? Or like where the boat is, like that whole settlement with the boat stuff. I don't know what that's called. I remember we put them in there though, and like we got trapped because a bunch of mercenaries showed up, and we like started fixing their suit.
So we were inside there, right? And all of a sudden, this giant group shows up because they had followed us because they saw what we did.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was a really crowded area. So we're inside the garage, inside that little scrap area with all the canoes and the yacht and all that. And everybody's standing outside. We've got the whole door locked down. Liam is hiding in a canoe under a tarp. Will is standing over there making sure they don't pull up the other door. And Dawson's trying to use his charisma to get Synth to hand over some parts. Of course, that works. But I can't remember what happened, but I think Saki was there, and he used some kind of powerful weapon.
I think he fired a grenade launcher like at the canoe thing, or like nearby. Shit. And I don't know what happened. We had people trying to get in through the door. We had Saki as I don't know the name of his character, but it was his SEAL commander character in a SEAL suit fired a grenade launcher at the building or something like nearby. And then everyone started freaking out. Where someone started hiding in one of the canoes, and like I think that was Midlaw. She was hiding in the canoe, and then Scrappy's freaking out, holding the gun at the door. And then we got like Andrew's SEAL character on the ground, like incapacitated, not severely wounded though. And then like I don't know, people were trying to get some of his SEAL parts off or something. And then I think the way we escaped was we like blew a hole in a wall or something. I think Nova, didn't your character like punch the wall or something? And like
yeah, he had like one arm missing.
Yeah.
So like he had and one leg missing because Brutus just absolutely annihilated his suit. So he was like just kind of humbling around. He just like had that bit of a suit for protection, and he was extremely slow. But the one thing he could do was just punch with that one working arm. So he got his suit and he just started bashing the wall with it until there was an opening. But they started breaking in through the gate.
Yeah, they were like getting in. We were surrounded. I don't know how we got out of that.
The odds were like 1 to 5.
Yeah, dude, that was really fun. Yeah,
that was really cool though, because like as we're going down the street, both of our suits are broken. We're like having to carry each other using both of our SEAL suits for support. She's got one leg working, I got one leg working. We're humbling through the street. You guys are making a perimeter, running through, trying to avoid all these mercenaries in this one SEAL.
Isn't it funny? Like, we the person who we were initially after was the only person on our side.
Yeah.
It turned around on us so so quickly. Like we had to team up.
It was rough.
That's what made it fun and like really, unexpected and surprising. I remember after we, I don't know if we got separated after we broke a hole in that wall, and then we ended up going to camp, and then didn't we go to the motel, which is where Sir Andros, that character Sir Andros, lived or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was, and that's where she gave she gave Nova Phoenix's character some spare parts, right?
Yeah, we walked in there, and the commander escorted us there himself because he's like, "All right, what are you two doing?" And we had to explain ourselves, like we're trying to help each other out now, just kind of get away from these people. It was like, "All right," and I think Sir Andrew's character knew them, so they kind of escorted them back. They talked for a while. They got some parts. They had one of those sealed docking stations, whatever they're called. It slips my mind. Fixed them up. And it comes back out, and I think even more trouble started. I can't quite remember what happened after that, though. I think some people broke in or something.
Something like that. I remember the Mori gang. We got out of there as fast as we could, man.
Yeah.
Usually, that a few people broke into a room with like 3+ seals in it.
Oh yeah, no, they didn't leave after they broke in. They just broke in.
Yeah.
They broke in, and they saw 3 seals and went, "Yeah, this is a good idea. Let's try and robbing them."
I think what happened was they didn't know there was 3 because they saw the 2 seal commanders, or they saw the seal commander, they saw Andrew. They're like, "All right, maybe we have a chance." And then I bust through the wall.
They see even one seal is pretty hard to pull off, but then 3 of them.
Oh yeah.
Man, I tried not to be really, I tried not to be combative with Dawson. I really didn't want to be.
I mean, sometimes you gotta when people method you for your suit.
Yeah. Did I ever talk about the croc rock as like my alternative as a non-lethal weapon that's still dangerous?
You were telling me about that in a chat the other day.
The what?
It's not recorded, so go ahead and tell everybody.
All right, so Dawson's signature weapon that I made for him was a thing between me and Graggly. We were trying to decide what's a funny weapon he could use that's non-lethal but still effective. And we thought we would make something very primitive. So using the seal suit's strength, we decided we would get a croc, put it inside of a sock, and then put a rock inside of the croc, and then whip it around like a sling.
And
so
you knock people out?
Why, how we got that?
I think we just raided a shoe store and then picked
No,
up some
there was
cement.
there was a FRP, right? And he was attacking us, and he was like, "I shot you in crock and ball."
Oh!
Funniest stuff ever. That's how we became friends, because we could laugh about crock and ball for hours on end.
I remember that now. I remember that. Oh man, I can't believe I forgot about that.
Rock and ball.
That's how our friendship started.
Oh my lord.
The
Crock
origin
and ball.
of all the stuff that happened between David, Dawson, and the Morey gang started with crock and balls. That's hard to think about.
That's magical.
It's magical. Before the whole thing with David, which was arguably the more fun part of the Morey gang, there was also the originals with Colt and all that. But do you remember how the original Morey gang split up on Thanksgiving of all times?
Oh yeah, that was when Dorian and that Iranian guy, I think.
Yeah, he got in a fight with the cook, and Will took the side of the cook, and he had I have a photo of that somewhere, but it's all of them aiming guns at each other. It's it was a Mexican standoff. Will told you guys to leave, so you left, and then you launched a Molotov in there and burnt all the supplies.
I'm so sorry. I'm trying not to laugh, but
Then
the way it's just Dorian got mad at the cook. It makes him sound like one of those 40-year-old dads at the Applebee's that they don't quite like how their chicken tastes, so they start yelling racial slurs into the kitchen.
We should have had Dorian on right now.
Man.
All right, we got a surprise special guest, Toe Hank. Gonna drag him in. Let's see what he's got to say. Hello, Toe Hank.
I tell you what, I'll never forget this one time I was on the joint. I tell you what, I was there with this dude, Hyper Kid 5. He comes out of nowhere, whacks the guy in the head with a fucking shank. I go, whoa, pal, calm yourself.
Okay, Larry Lawton. Gary, how you doing today?
Some guy, bro, how we doing today? How we doing?
You're the surprise special guest. How you? What you got to talk about?
I got a controversy.
You got a controversy. Wow. What controversy do you have?
There's this guy named Chad the Creator.
What?
There's this guy named Chad the Creator, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you right now, he has connections to people such as Obama. Hillary
Wait,
Clinton.
what? He's got connections.
All I
He's
heard
got connections with Obama and Hillary Clinton. Wait a minute. This is unheard of. What are you talking about?
Yeah, Chad the Creator. He's the real. I tell you, you should see some of the things he does. He banned my friend for no reason. I tell you, I'm gonna get revenge on that son of a bitch.
Okay.
Just simmer down, man.
I'll never forget.
I have a controversy too. You know where that hurricane's currently happening right now?
Yeah, my
Hurricane
mom's
Laura?
house.
Ah, yes, the ATF
From the way it
podcast.
sounds in your background, and no offense to you, Mr. L, but it sounds like Chad banished you there when you started to figure that stuff out.
Middle of the hurricane.
This is unbelievable, folks. We got Toe Hank over here with the Larry Lawton profile picture. What?
No, I actually am Larry Lawton.
You're
actually.
Larry
You
Lawton, man. I'll never
Yep.
forget.
should- I'll never forget. Let me
Man, I'll
tell you
never
guys
forget
some
the time we
stories.
were in the joint and you stabbed someone over a toothbrush, man. And then we had Hyper Kid 5 back us up. And he
Hypercade 5 came out of nowhere with this piece of scrap metal, started knocking out all the guards. They dropping left and right. Me and Moose hiding
Oh
in the
my
toilet. I tell you, I'll never forget.
uh,
Hyperkid 5 ripped out the fucking toilet septic systems.
I'll never forget that. You
Bring in.
you play ATF often? You're a special guest on an ATF podcast, man.
No, I actually. No, I play it sometimes, with the boys, and
Oh, yeah.
the most I've done some mutant hunting back in the day with
Mutant
Hyper Kid 5 before he went to the clink again and was ultimately murdered. What else have I really have no accomplishments on marriage. On Deep Six, though, on the other hand, I once got into a kung fu fight on a roof.
You got a kung fu fight on the roof. How did that
Yeah.
go?
Yeah,
With
so
who?
these MEB guys started chasing me, right? I had like 8 pounds of cocaine in my truck, so I started running. and I'm running up the steps. One grabs my leg. I take out Deuce, splash right in his eyes. He's donezo. I keep on running. I get to the roof. There's about 4 left. They all
Oh,
run
God.
at me. I'll never forget, right? I do a judo kick. 2 fly off the roof, 2 left. Right? Come right at me. Hit him with the chop to the throat. 1 falls. The other one comes up, rip my gun out. Boom. Done. Donezo. I then run off the roof, parachute down. That was it. Never forget.
Did this
I
really
can't
happen?
help but think that every time he talks, he's like going up a flight of stairs. Just
Oh, man.
Oh my lord! Thank you for
How long-
coming over to Hank.
Yeah, thank you for coming,
Thank
Toe
you.
Hank, and sharing this wonderful experience.
Oh, that's not an issue. Oh, let me just tell you one more story now.
Okay.
This is just a memoriam of a couple of my friends that died in the prison. This man, Prospector Pete.
That's a good note to end it on. Goodbye, Larry Lawton.
You mean okay?
The fucking Pete,
I think
man.
it's safe to say we'll never forget him.
Oh my god.
Just gonna be mindless laughing.
Oh my god.
Holy shit, man.
All right, so what I remember once in I don't know if we were actually doing something in the Mori gang, but we had a little like run-in with the CDF and like some stuff happened. Like I think Graggly and Nova were there. Wasn't it a host and like something we were
Me and Nova went into the barber shop and they were giving supplies away.
yeah.
And me and Nova took like a little bit more. They got really mad over that. They started fighting us. Nova, didn't you like slap the guy across the face?
I did.
Oh god.
Okay, so
And-
here's
With the
Go
clock
ahead.
rock?
Bitch slapped a CDF.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
go ahead.
slapped the fucking guy hosting.
I didn't know that was the host.
What the
I thought that was
hell?
just like some random like inventory stock manager or something.
And then after we had the fight, we went outside. They started shooting at Nova, and then Scrappy was there, I think.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
Then Orc Slayer stabbed out your eyeball, right?
Yeah, someone stabbed out my eye. I don't know what happened. We got in a small like disagreement, and the guy role playing as a CDF militiaman that stabbed my eye out, he like tackled me or something. He told me in like OST mode real quick. He's like, "Hey, can I have permission to cripple?" And I'm like, "You know what? I want Scrappy to have a cool eye patch. I don't know what made that idea go across my head, but I'm like, go for it. And I told him just like stab out my eye or something, and he did. I don't know if it really seemed logical. I did, but either way, like he asked for permission to cripple. I'm like, do it, dude. So he like tackled Scrappy, stabbed his eye. Scrappy's on the ground, bleeding from his eye in pain. And then some random guy, I forget who. I don't know if it was one of you guys or someone like dragged him to safety and like patched up his eye or
Oh
something.
my lord.
That was really crazy. And then what happened with the crate? There was like a crate that they had that we accidentally stole or
Oh,
something.
Yeah, I remember
All the
that.
supplies,
Okay.
Yeah.
So the original idea coming into all this was
Yeah.
okay. So we don't have that much supplies, I think this is during the whole stuff where like winter's coming kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like passing out supplies. It might have been during the snow event. I can't quite recall,
I
but
think it was just before.
maybe just before. Yeah. So the CDF were handing out all these supplies and stuff. Like, all right, let's go get our share. It says free supplies out front. We're gonna grab our fill. For the amount of people that we have in our base. So me and Graggly walk in. I just start picking stuff off the shelves. I think he gets some water filters. Were they water filters?
Yeah. And I think D-Rads.
Oh, they were D-Rads. All right. So he grabs 2 D-Rads, and the CDF person's like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. All right, you can only grab 1, okay? So, like, where does it say that? Like, we're trying to, like, talk to him, like, negotiate with them. And they're like, all right, you can't be doing that, bud. And he's like, maybe I shouldn't have come in here in my SEAL suit. I think they feel threatened. So it gets to the point where it's like, okay, there's 2 guys talking to us. There's one guy talking to Graggly, don't grab those D-Rads. There's one person talking to me, like, don't grab this much water, because I was just trying to grab water, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was negotiating with them. I was like, all right, so if I can only take 1 free, I'll make you an offer you can't refuse. I'll pay you for the second one. So it was going all right, and then Graggly shot someone,
Oh god.
and bullets started flying everywhere. And he's like, "You bad bandits!" And I see him. He's like yelling at me and stuff, like, "Put the water down!" And he's like, and I think this is a detail that's important. I should have said at the beginning, but the water's in a crate, so
Yeah.
keep that in
Oh,
mind.
jeez.
He's telling me, "Put the water. You need to put the water down." I'm like, "No, stop. Use your indoor voice." Just trying to talk him down. And bullets are starting to fly everywhere. Graggly runs behind me. He's yelling, "We gotta get out of here!" The CDF are starting to pile in. They're starting to aim guns at me. Everything's getting hectic. So I just decide, all right, I'm done with this. I backhand the guy in the face. He flies into the table and breaks it. I pick up the crate. He's like thinking, all right, I'm just going to get the water and leave. I'm not putting up with this. And everything just breaks down from there. We grab the water, we leave. But it turns out we stole a month's worth of supplies, not just water.
Christ.
It's like the CDF just start going, what an organized band of miscreants. Look how much supplies they stole from us. It must have taken months to prepare this.
It took like 5 minutes for me to do that. No. So like, I remember, I think that whole thing happened like with the crate. Like Scrappy was getting his eye patched up, and like I just remembered like walking out, and then like people were like shooting, and like you guys were just running away, and I'm like, what? It was really weird. But that did not take months to plan at all. This was like during the winter, I think.
That was around the time you guys went isolationist, right? You just stopped robbing people. You went to your old mansion on the cliffs, right?
Yeah, we went to the
when
mansion.
we moved to the cave, actually.
No, I think that was like after.
Because right after that, you invited us to live in your mansion, and we lived there for a couple days. And then the big robbery happened where half of our gang died, and we had to run away to the mountains.
What happened with that? The big robbery that got like a lot of people killed.
So there was this robbery, and there was this general store. We went into the place, and for some reason, one of our guys, he instead of following the plan, he just pulls out a gun and puts it to somebody's head. And none of us were prepared, so we were caught on the flip side, and we got guns pointed at us and everything. So one of our guys who were outside guarding, they weren't in fear because nobody was aimed at them. So they walk in, they start shooting. We all draw our guns, and one of our guys gets shot. We have to drag him. We all run away to the car, and we drive over to the mountains. One of our guys dies on the way up to the mountains, and then one of our guys dies in the mountains, and we lost 2 guys that day. It was
Christ.
rough.
Who were the guys? Who were the guys that died?
Damn.
Let's see. There was Mac. His name was Mac, and I forget the other guy. I think it was one of our cooks. We have something in the Morey game that we called the cook's curse. Almost every cook died, and
Dear God.
Oh,
the only
why was a cook at a robbery?
for like the first 3 months we were wannabe Vanderlyn gang, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, we eventually became our own thing, but we still kept the whole like want to have a cook thing, like Pearson, because that we thought that was cool.
Oh yeah.
But usually our cook was an idiot or just had bad luck and died every time. We had so many cooks that I could not count them.
Also, I think the main issue you had was that you kept bringing cooks into battle, shooting people.
No,
I think they probably died because they'd never
Most
shot
of
a
the
gun
time
before
they
and they
weren't.
were a cook.
The cook was the
You know-
getaway driver. He died driving.
It's okay. They're just a support class.
How?
They add a damage buff.
It's not cooking a stir fry in the middle of battle.
Rolls to make good food to increase damage.
What other notable like robberies or scores did you guys like pull as the Mori gang?
Graggly, back when you were part of the Morey gang, did we do any together?
I don't remember any like big ones, but I do remember when Colt died. What
Brad?
was his name?
Brad?
Oh, Brad. Yeah. Once he died, David started coming around and joining the gang.
Mhm.
We did a lot of robberies then. I remember.
Yeah, I remember. Will was worried that Liam was gonna get like corrupted because, I mean, he didn't want Liam to become like a huge robber. He wanted to. He felt like Liam was kind of his little brother. He planned on kicking him out of the gang if anything got wrong because he didn't want him to die. And it got to this point where Liam was like doing a lot of work with David and he wasn't approving of it. And that kind of soured relations between the Smith and Morey gang for a while. But I mean, do you guys remember how we had that big gang war right after Will killed Wolf?
I was just
Oh.
thinking about that.
Yeah, just thinking about
Wait, real quick, who was the Smith gang?
The Smith gang
Oh.
was Graggly's gang.
Oh shoot.
me,
We were
Nova,
allied gangs.
Shellshook, Dorian,
And his son, I think, right?
Planted Doctor, I think too.
Planted Doctor
Oh,
was
yeah.
in both gangs. Yeah. He died on the way up the mountains in our gang.
I don't know if I really considered Dawson a part of the Smith gang, though, because he was a mercenary.
I
Like,
mean,
that's
you
how he
were-
found his way in. But he was protective, and he found
Yeah.
a place in he found friendship with them. But
Same
You
with
didn't do any
the
crime of it, but you were like there for almost everything.
he
Like,
was there, yeah. But like
Yeah.
at the very beginning, I think he was making out like, "Where's my paycheck? I'm gonna stay around here till you gonna pay me." And I think he just started getting more and more involved because like kind of a logic where, all right, if they die, I can't get paid, so he just kind of made sure that they were alive. And I think that's how he formed the bond that eventually ended up corrupting him.
Did you guys have any encounters with bounty hunters or anything like that
Oh
coming
my
after
gosh,
you?
that was half the game, man. We had Brad, we had Tommy, we had Samuel, and the funny thing is, I mean, Samuel's death was apparently voided while I was on leave, and rightfully so. That was kind of a messed up situation, but and there was Clockwork. Pretty much by the end of the gang, we had taken out all of the bounty hunters that were after us.
Jeez.
I remember
Yeah.
before. I think it was after the gang war. David sold out Bunny Jason to
Yep,
you
that was
guys.
Tommy. Yep.
You know, speaking of bounty hunters, Graggly, do you remember when you almost got caught and we had to call Filthy? You got captured, remember? You were playing as David and some guys caught
Oh, I
you and they
remember
brought you
that.
back to Craterview.
I remember that.
Oh yeah, didn't you rush in as a seal and like?
Oh
knock
yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that.
because I was really conflicted because Dawson was like, if he gets sent to prison, what am I going to do?
Mhm.
But he knew he couldn't go into Craterview as a SEAL, so he did the boldest thing I've ever done as any of my characters. He got out of his SEAL suit, didn't even take his rifle. He just took a Mendel 11 and 2 mags with him. He walked inside, looked around for a second, waited to see what they were going to do, shot everyone in the room, and rescued David.
Yeah, I remember that. I didn't join I kind of joined to like make sure as a jailman to make sure because I was a jailman back then for the CV bounty board, and I remember I got there's some arguments going on, so I just joined to like make sure everything went smoothly. It was that I remember that. That was a really
I think they called
Fun
you
time.
in to confirm the bounty, but by the time you were joining, Nova actually got in and did it. So like, as soon as you joined, they were already fucking dead or on the
yeah.
ground.
That
For
was
clarification, guys, Filthy, like for the listeners, Filthy wasn't like using his jailman powers to make sure they escaped. He wasn't like
I just got called. I joined, and I found myself in that situation. I remember you guys called me because there was like a lot of arguments and just misaccusations being thrown around, and I just made sure everything like went smoothly. I guess I barely remember, to be honest. This was like December. This is a long time ago.
Oh yeah,
But
it's hard to remember
Oh yeah.
these things.
let's talk about
I
those
remember
bounty
the
hunters.
the bounty
Uh,
hunters, man.
There was let's see. So we had Tommy, we had Samuel, we had Brad. Samuel was probably the biggest threat to the Mori gang just because he was so persistent. And by the time that he wasn't persistent, he had already caused enough damage to where we wanted him gone. Tommy was like, the way we took down Tommy was we called on David. Will had saved David's life somehow, I can't remember, and so David owed him a favor. And Will made that the favor. Like, you have to help me kill Tommy. So they went after Tommy, and David got in the car, and he tricked Tommy, pushed him out of the car. Will shot him through the chest with a sniper, came up and shot him in the head.
That sounds so cool.
It was cool. I have a screenshot of it.
I'd like to see that like reanimated. Like if I could find somebody
That'd
to
be
animate
cool.
that,
That
that'd
was
be so
awesome.
cool.
It was adrenaline rushing. I don't really combat roleplay anymore, but like that was
Same.
peak.
Yeah, I try not to combat roleplay these days
Yeah.
either. I roleplay as a journalist these days now.
Ooh,
I tell you,
that's great.
People will combat RP anything, but I won't get into that. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're in the queue for a supermarket and you stub your toe or something. People go, "Don't be too loud," and shoot you in the head for it.
That sounds accurate.
That baby
Combat
is too
roleplay
loud.
journalist.
PTK.
Nowadays I only play as a mutant.
Mhm.
It's pretty fun. It's
Dude.
cool.
I think mutant RP done right is fun.
Yeah.
If you're not like CRP hungry and you actually like enjoy playing as the character and not just trying to get more kills,
Mhm.
it's really good. It's fun.
Yeah.
I only
Yeah.
remember having 2 mutants that I didn't use for very long, but I think they were kind of memorable.
I had one mutant. It was a leecher, and his name was
Same.
100% real Arizona sweet iced tea, and that was because that's what I,
I
was
remember
drinking
that.
while
I
made
remember
him.
that.
Yep.
I remember them.
Oh yeah.
Did they wear a shirt?
My character, yeah. I think I just put the Arizona sweet tea logo on there.
God bless.
Somebody like an LPM told me, hey, the name's too long, so I deleted the character, and then a couple weeks later, my friend Midlaw, she asked me for a name for his descendant, and I said, how about Arizona Sweet Tea? So his descendant is now named Sweet Tea. So 100% real Arizona sweet iced tea lives on in memory.
Wait, what mutant was it?
It was just one of my leechers. I used it for like scaring
Okay.
people. I don't like infecting people. But
Yeah.
so let's talk about Brad because he was a mastermind.
Oh yeah.
Who's Brad?
He was a gentleman. His sole purpose for like a couple months was going after the Smith and Morey gang. I mean, I don't know if I told you guys this. I might have, but Will and Brad actually dueled with pistols.
Oh, I remember that. And
Yeah.
then
Oh man, I wish I saw that.
Yeah, it was awesome. Will quick drew and shot him in the chest and let him live. Like he shot him in the
Jeez.
chest and he was wearing armor, so it just knocked him down. He walked up and pistol whipped him and walked away. He
Man,
ended
I'd
up
really like to
taking his
see
gun.
Will again.
Will
I
still
really
lives.
liked Will as a
still lives.
character.
He's a carpenter now.
Didn't he leave the region?
He went to Southern California, but I mean I might bring him back. I'm not sure. Not all.
I want the Dawson drone to meet them again.
were you guys there for the standoff between Colt and Brad?
Oh, I didn't see that.
So basically, like Brad was chasing him down. He actually got the upper hand. Colt retreated back to his house, and he was like giving himself in basically.
Yeah.
But Brad actually spared him. Not a lot of people know, but Colt chose to blow himself up to end it
Jeez.
because he was very wanted. If you remember that, like
We were the 3 most wanted men in the region at that time.
Yeah, I remember. I was in the CV bounty board Discord and like scrolling up on the bounties, and you guys were like priority wanted. I'm like,
We
jeez.
were. You know, Will and Alan. I don't mean to toot my horn or anything,
You're
we
fine.
we
You're fine.
were the longest lasting priority wanted ever. We were on there for 7.5 months until we creative dipped.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then there was Graggly's character who was on there until he died. But I mean, I'm sure if the gang wouldn't have split up, he would have been there just as long.
What did you guys have any interactions with like other player-made fan factions?
TCA for the Smith gang. We had a couple fights with them, right, Nova?
I remember that. They did not like Dawson.
Oh no.
Jeez.
I think that was the only thing, because the Smith gang were wanted, the Morey gang was wanted, but the only thing that really ever happened to Dawson was that the TCA wanted him dead.
The TCA killed one of our cooks. Cook's curse and everything like that. The CDF was like, we had a couple of peacekeepers after us, but like,
Oh yeah, the CDF hated us.
we had we robbed somebody that the TLB was scouting out, and it wasn't like a HR hosted thing. It was like just some random TLB kids, but they were mad at us. But I'm pretty sure it was TLB. It might have been a different bandit faction. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this was November. I'm not sure if they were still alive. So let's talk about a slightly different topic. This is still in the idea of player-made groups, but so you guys remember Vacancy?
I do remember Vacancy.
I know
Of
Mello
course.
does.
Oh,
I know
yeah,
Mello
right.
does. So let's see if we can get
Of course we do.
any people to recognize you. Mello, do the Dusty Dude voice.
I can't do that.
voice.
You have to give me. I don't know what to say.
Maybe
If you can't do it, just like do like a budget Dusty Dude voice. Just like
Talk about-
purposely do it
Warm
with
up
the
Dusty
stakes.
talk
or
about-
maybe just do the intro or whatever it was that the guy would say. I only listened to like one of the clips, so
I'm playing Rainbow Six as we talk.
talk about Rainbow Six as Dusty.
Yeah, start
Guys,
narrating.
I suck ass at this game. Alright, I'm not gonna lie. I'm an honest man.
Oh my god. Dusty's a fun character, but Vacancy was probably
Vacancy was very fun.
it was a fun
Oh.
settlement. I mean, I know it was.
what was Vacancy?
It was a really odd attempt at a settlement that we did. It was obviously based on Novak and but looked really good. I credit Dabu shit or Dabu Chite or however you pronounce his name. But he was a wonderful builder. He built the dinosaur for it. It looked great. We had a whole
I remember
radio station
that.
going for it.
I remember my caravan
Yeah.
partnered up with it, the Bighorn Rovers.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was really fun. Where we set up stalls and stuff, sold to you.
Oh yeah.
Probably
yeah,
one
I
of the
remember
more
that.
fun things that I've done on ATF. I remember my character had an Aztec and that was brutal. I remember people tried to, I think, wasn't it TMP who tried to raid thing? Didn't that all voided though, didn't it?
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna get too into it because I think there was problems on it on both sides.
So like what happened with the Mori gang? Like how did it end? What happened with the characters? I know like Nova, your character died, right?
Yeah, Dawson ended up dying. They eventually took that log out of the dead thing. I searched for it and I couldn't find Dawson's name in it anymore. Maybe they forgot about it. Maybe they purged it because it didn't matter anymore. But they removed it, so it's kind of an iffy subject. But as far as I know, he's dead.
We got another special surprise guest. No, not Larry Lawton, played by Toe Hank, but we have Shellshook. Yeah, I'm gonna drag him in. Hey, what's up?
What's up, Shellshook?
How's it going?
Were you there during like all that stuff that happened with Nova's Bandit Seal character? What was his name?
Dawson.
Dawson. Yeah. What happened?
To Dawson?
Yeah, like what was the whole like situation that happened with him? I remember like he ended up getting killed, and then there was just I don't dude, it was such a long time ago.
Yeah. He got considered a bandit seal because he was running with Colt and David, and he was, they were doing all sorts of kind of stuff, and Dawson was just making sure they were alive, and he was a bandit seal at first, but this was before I knew that I had to have permission to be a bandit seal, so we ended up having to avoid all that stuff. So no big deal. Water under a bridge. But that doesn't take away from the fact that we did take away from the CDF unknowingly. And I think that was maybe the nail in the coffin for Dawson. Because as soon as they figured out they had a seal, they just knew by that point. It's like, all right, this is a threat in the region. We got to take care of it. And I think Shellshook was there when they eventually did decide to do that.
They were at the apartments or the motel.
Yeah, that's where we ended up taking place. Like
Wait,
the
what
whole thing.
happened? Like
So
the final standoff?
yeah, the final standoff. What happened was we originally got away from them, and we sailed off on these little boats. So we had to throw some stuff off and just decrease as much weight as we could to get the seal suit to actually float. And we
Yeah.
went across the river the first time. David was there. He decided, we should stay here. There's a tunnel that goes on the interstate. We can get out of here. We can finish this. And this is when Dawson decided to draw some parallels into his life. What he became over the years.
Yeah.
And he decided that he was going to end his life the way he started it off after he met David. He was going to go down fighting. He knew he was going to die, but he wanted to make an opening so that at least David had the chance to live the life that he thought he was going to live. So he ended up going back. And I think David followed him. And after that ended up happening, he made his final stand. He started fighting the CDF, and David was with them. And he was fighting the CDF. They had us cornered. They had grenade launchers. They had seals. And, they ended up hitting him once with a 50 cal in the chest. So he was kind of sluggish. He was barely able to move. He was doing all this he was just doing everything he could to keep himself alive as long as he could. So they fall back to the boats. David gets his arm blown off, I think. Or he gets wounded.
Oh, Christ.
His leg, yeah.
He got his leg blown off by a grenade launcher. So he throws him on a boat, simultaneously just shooting his gun blindly to try and keep him off him. And he sends the boat off just to save David. And he turns around and he's trying to cover that boat. He's got 2 guns in his arm. He's firing and firing and firing, knowing he's going to die right there. And the situation that happened, I knew he was going to die from the very start of it. So the fact that he died was not what I had an issue with.
Yeah.
But when you take in mind that the SEAL, right? The SEAL with the Variant B helmet is firing 2 LMGs in 2 different directions in both of the angles that the CDF could have covered, you would think, would someone want to peek that with a massive rifle that I'm pretty sure the threat detection system would definitely pick up, right?
Yeah.
Would you want to peek that, like, logically?
Probably not.
Definitely.
Well, that's what ended up happening. And, an LPM was there, and he decided to do that. And, he had an angle. He was on the side. Facing forward, you got Dawson looking forward, shooting both directions, not even caring where he's shooting.
Yeah.
And then he comes out and he shoots him on the side. Like, how the angle is tilted to this angle down where the eyes are?
Yeah.
He hits that part of his helmet, and he says that killed me. That's where the controversy started.
What kind of gun was it?
It was some kind of 50 cal.
Well, yeah. That Yikes.
But
Yikes.
here's what I didn't understand, though. If he hits the angled slope part of the armor, in a helmet that's been said that it can at least take 1 50 cal, as far as I've heard, I didn't understand if it would go through or not. I'm thinking, if he hits that slope side of the helmet, you would think at that angle, would it penetrate? Would it just hit the angle and, skim off of it? Because, I don't know if it can apply itself to go through an angle. Because, when you look at a tank, right? It's got that sloped armor. It's got slope because it's going to shoot that slope, and it's going to ricochet off it. I'm not an expert in ballistics, so I can't break it down.
I mean, bullets bounce off pretty much everything. If you fire a bullet at a slope wall, it's going to bounce straight back at you. Like, someone fired a bullet through a tube with, 7 bends, and it went all the way through and went to the other side.
Yeah. And that's what I'm thinking. Could that force transmit in a straight line through an angle? A very, very thick angle. So I challenged him on that. I said, hey, I think that would probably ricochet. You might want to take another shot, right? Go for the chest. I already got hit in the chest once.
Yeah.
And long story short, that just eventually ended up to, it killed you anyways. I used my LPM power. We win. And they're like, okay, that's done. And I wasn't very happy about that, but that's what it is. And I'm not sure how much Shell saw, but I wanted to ask him, in his opinion, do you think that Dawson should have died that way? Like, do you think that's a reasonable thing that happened? Just that specific way? Because I know at the end of that, he would have died no matter what. But do you think he should have died there? And do you think it's worth the punishment that ended up following that event after the fact?
Yeah, what happened? Did you get exiled from the SEALs or something?
I did.
What the hell? Why?
They say it was because I argued with the LPM about the shot if it should have landed. They say it was largely because of that, and because of the situation that happened with. Can I drop their name?
Is it
The seal that Dawson helped, that whole situation?
Oh, Saran drove?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. We already talked about that.
They said that Sir Andrew's thing was another thing that contributed to it, because they said Dawson attacked them and tried to steal their suit when they didn't have bandit seal perms. But I didn't attack them as Dawson. When I joined in as Dawson, I was trying to help them. But I'm getting sidetracked.
I don't know, man. That's what the hell? So the argument with the LPM was like a full-blown argument. Or you just kind of had like a small disagreement.
It was
It started out as a small disagreement, and it turned into a big argument because all the CDF members were running down at me. They were saying, "You're stupid. You don't know anything about it." Like, just trying to keep it calm, and it's quickly escalating,
Yeah.
and it's getting a little obnoxious. I'm trying not to lose my calm,
Yeah.
my cool, because it's just a frustrating situation.
Yeah, I get it. I don't know, man. Like that's why a lot of crap dealing with combat RP, whatever. It could lead to situations like that. It's really, I don't know. Like
I just realized I'm sorry to interrupt. I didn't
Yeah, you're
give
good.
Shell a chance to talk at all. I'm so sorry. I just started ranting. I didn't even notice.
You're all fine. No, I think the incident was just for both sides. I don't think it was really well structured. I feel like they quickly rushed you just to kill you. It's they quickly formed a fucking kill squad with an admin, and they came at you, and they decided on how it was going to end, and then he decided, oh, I'm just going to end you that way, and we're going to be done with it. I think from the very beginning, everyone kind of knew what was going to happen, but I do think it shouldn't have ended that way personally. It was very interesting, to say the least.
Yeah. They did try to redo the event. I remember Graggly got a message about it after the fact. They're saying Dawson's alive because it's being redone. Like, okay, cool, celebrations. But then it's like, okay, we're just gonna redo that last part where like we killed him, and then they did the exact same thing.
See, I just want to quickly throw something in. If we're not trying to shit talk LPMs here. I mean, I think most LPMs are really good at their jobs. They're amazing people, really nice, and we're not trying to shit talk them anyway. They're really good at their jobs, and they do.
No, it's like,
well, of course,
no,
keep the community running.
This whole thing was just kind of like it's really no one's fault, man. It's just a lot of miscommunication. It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't know. That's just how it is sometimes. But yeah,
It's to be expected. I mean, that's just people.
Yeah.
People are very either impulsive or waiting to act on something. When things get emotional, that's when things get out of hand. But you can't prevent that, really.
Shell, did you hear about like what they decided on after the fact?
No, I didn't hear the final verdict.
Yeah, I think after the fact, I think the LPM started talking with some of the commanders, and they were kind of reviewing it. And the commander, after they voided the whole thing, Greg, did they void it the second time or the first time?
First time, I think.
Okay, yeah. So the first time they're saying, okay, it's voided now, but he's saying, okay, yeah, it's voided. Whatever. One of the commanders at the same time is in another DM of mine. He's saying, okay, Dawson's dead. That's the final verdict. So I'm like, okay, well, I have the LPM saying, the LPM there saying that it got voided. So what's going on. You're like, well, no, because that LPM's telling me that they are dead. And I asked them about it, and they said that they didn't void it. I'm like, okay, we'll wait for Graggly to get on, and he'll, give me a screenshot of the LPM saying that he did. And then he says something that, I didn't quite understand. The SEAL commander said that Graggly wasn't trustworthy. And I don't know what he was basing that off of. We kind of got upset about that.
I was pretty heated over that. Like, I get this bad rep for being a combat role player, which is very untrue. I mean, maybe they got that from me on Rain when I was like 12. I don't know. But
back when you were Mario, I remember that.
Yeah.
on some real shit though, that like final stand for Dawson, dude, that must have been like badass as hell. You got Graggly like like hauling ass getting out of there, and you got Dawson with two damn LMGs just spraying at the ZDF. That
getting hit with 50 counts.
Dear God.
The most poetic part of that though is that those AKs weren't his. In their life of protecting David and protecting Colt, they actually attributed that stuff from robbing people. So he wasn't. He was using the very stuff that blood was spilled on the ground, got on his hands. He was using that stuff to as redemption. He was using those weapons that put the blood on his hands to put more blood on his hands to try and clean the blood that was on his hands. And that's kind of how his mind ended up seeing things at the very end. He was so distilled by that point, that he didn't know how to fix himself, so he did the only thing he could understand at that point to try and do better for himself, and he ended up dying.
I feel like, man, he's got a lot of like interesting like character dev, to be honest. I don't want to be a nerd and be like, my robot character dev, man, fuck. But like, really, I feel like he was a really developed character, and like, honestly, like,
Yeah, the whole gang thing. It was just like such a good storyline. Like that was like the highlight of my whole time on ATF. Like that was a great story.
I know a lot of people see like the whole Mori. I mean, I know it's hard to look at it from the outside, see it as something other than a big combat roleplay thing. But I mean,
yeah,
in reality, it was really something special for a lot of people.
But that's what makes it tragic, though, because when you look at it, at the end of the day, it was a character development thing, and that's all it was. That's all it boiled down to. But somehow it went up the chain of command of the SEALs, and I don't know how it ended up on this Reddit. You know, first they're saying he's dead, so that's bad enough, but he was going to die anyway, so that's not the worst case scenario. Then, after showing that screenshot, they don't even mention it. They just say that I've been exiled. So I'm like, what? Why? And that goes all the way up to Toby himself, who was the leader of the SEALs at the time. He says I'm exiled. And I don't understand, because that was related to the argument about the ballistics with the LPM. And I want to ask Shell one more time. And again, thank you for being here. I'm saying that like I'm one of the hosts. I'm not, but I'm just like, just for the fact that you can just talk about this event with us. I appreciate that. Do you think that I should have been exiled? And I'm not saying that in a selfish way, because I know that comes off as really self-centered. Like, I shouldn't have been exiled. See all my friends say. I'm not trying to say that. Like, just your honest opinion.
Personally, I don't think you should have been exiled from the community for the certain reason that was your even if they had solid grounds for that, it was your first offense, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think it deserved exilement more as it should have deserved, I don't know, some sort of formal warning or something.
Yeah, it was just no
If
warning.
that.
It was just decided overnight, and they just told me about it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't really know much about the whole situation other than what you guys have told me, so I'm not going to speak for both sides, but
I understand.
It seems like a situation that could have been handled better by everyone. But I mean, we all grow as people, and I know definitely if the situation was placed right into your hands again, it would be a lot different.
Definitely. I feel like all parties would have probably treated it a lot different, because I feel like, as time goes by, people become less spiteful, people become less attached to this kind of stuff. And what happens.
Yeah, I think I mean, it might sound like we're, getting mad at whatever LPM, maybe whatever admin was involved in that. But I mean, in reality, I mean, all of us have had our fair share of problems. I mean, definitely.
And you know what?
Myself included.
It does give some sense of conclusion, though, to the story. So I can't really say it turned out for the worst.
The first time your character picks up a gun and shoots at somebody, that's when you kind of sign off your rights to, stay alive.
Pretty much, honestly.
You can't whine about somebody getting RTK on you the second you shoot somebody.
I might be remembering wrong, but I think Will was kind of really aware of that, because
that was Will's story.
Remember, he was I feel like he was really just sad that he ever decided to make that, but he ended up becoming really good at it.
I mean, anybody could have done what I did. I mean, what I did wasn't special. It was just I was smart about it, and I stayed in hiding, and I didn't go out and flaunt my power.
But he was the quickest draw in the West.
I mean, my speed.
You kind of masterminded it, though.
Yeah, I guess what I learned was again something anybody. I mean, I definitely, not to toot my own horn, but I was definitely good at it. But anybody with enough research could definitely, and enough patience could definitely do it. I mean, the biggest part of the game is patience. If you're an outlaw and you're not patient, you're not going to survive.
That's a good contrast to the Smith gang and the Mori gang. It's I feel like the contrast between the Smith gang and the Mori gang is they're pretty much the same thing. They're two lines that don't see eye to eye, because they go down the same path. And one's a shade of red and one's a shade of blue, and in between you have this gray line that both of them have to follow. And they don't seem to split that much, but you see a difference in how they handle things, and eventually one of those lines ends up being shorter than the other, even though they go down the same path, even though they're parallel to each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, you know, in some points we fought each other. Like when Will killed Wolf on the roof. You know, you told him I vow to kill you, William Morey. And then a few weeks later, we're good friends, and then a few weeks later, we're fighting again. Towards the end, we became allies, and that's when everything went downhill for both gangs. Like I said, the second you take the step to for your character to have his first jump in combat roleplay, you can't be disappointed when somebody takes that step against you.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, I accepted that with Will, but I mean, I'll admit, towards the end, I got a little attached, and I didn't cheat the system or anything, as far as I'm concerned. But I definitely didn't go as hardcore with Will as I normally would. You know, I did things from the shadows, like the way I killed this one bounty hunter named Clockwork. Um, I tricked a guy into killing him for me because I said he was a friend of another wanted man, and
Oh
he went
no.
out and he took the guy and he brought him to me, and then I drew my gun and I did a whole Benny the game was rigged from the start and shot him in the head. No, I shot him in the
Jeez.
chest. Never mind. I shot him in the chest. He fell over and died, and it was. I mean, nowadays I feel bad about that because, I mean, Clockwork was a developed character and everything, but I mean, in my defense, he was a bounty hunter. He took the stride to taking people, dead or alive, because it's no better taking somebody alive than dead because they're just gonna get an execution. So you
Yeah.
still got the blood on your hands. So I mean, Clockwork was just as much a killer as Will, except he was on the other side of the law.
But it's a really good. It's like when you put all that together, it becomes a really cool story to just look back on.
It was a
That's
great story
true.
for us.
You could write a book out of what happened. Like you could make money off of
I
that.
have a name for it.
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Well then, yeah. So how did you guys like all get started on like ATF? Because like you guys are really focused on more story-based things and like actually going out and just beating the shit out of people. Like if you know what I'm getting at.
I've never been personally a CRP. I've never really CRP'd. I mean, I
Yeah.
have,
I've never
but
seen you CRP in my
I've
life.
always tried to stay away from it.
I have when I was younger. Like
Okay.
so I personally started on Snowstorm.
Oh, I remember that.
Snowstorm, and then I don't think I played Darkness. I might have a bit. Then I moved on to Rain, and then Rain is where I really started to, get used to the whole thing. Then Deep Six. I like Deep Six. I never really played Deep Winter. But
Hey,
yeah.
man, Deep Six is where I met you, right? You were
Oh, yeah.
Mario, and then you were in that video where the bank gets bombed by the bomber, and you were that little kid. Just yeah, good times.
See, I remember I got started in Deep Six, and those were the FRP
Oh, yeah.
days, man.
Oh yeah.
When I ran around as a dog, stuff like that. That was fun. Just to run around as a dog, no concept for approvals, rules, factions. Don't remember any factions from Deep Six. And then when I think Mirage came out, I started hardcore playing that. I used to be one of the people who started up those Milita fan factions. And I look back on that, I'm like, oh, that's so cringe. I can't believe I did that. It's like I think there was one called MEF where it was like Mutant Extermination Force or something. It's like you look back on that now and you went, oh, I was like level 100 then. And it's like, why did I do that?
I remember it took me 2 years to stop using asterisks to like for
Honestly, same.
Yeah, I agree.
I remember when I started in like 2014 or something. I joined a game. I was a little 12-year-old. I'm like, what am I gonna do on Roblox today? And I saw a game called ATF Darkness, and I joined and I put on like the CDF morph or whatever, and I went around shooting people. I'm like, why aren't they taking damage? I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, what's this game about? And then I don't know. I took a break from it. I came back a bunch of times, and it was. I remember I played Sandstorm and Rain a lot. Those are the days, honestly. And
I
Deep
do
Six
miss
was
Rain.
good too.
I do miss Rain. On Rain, I had this character named Hetty. He was a mutant before like the actual mutant guide came out. So he didn't really have like a rad class.
Yeah.
Big green fucking killing machine.
Did he have a football helmet on? Was that him?
And Hawaiian. That's how I got into Sand Sharks, which is the only action I really ever paid attention to.
Oh, Graggly, do you want to go into depth about that new character you got concept art for?
You got concept art.
Concept art.
Yeah,
Huh?
with the mask and the hat.
What?
You got it for your birthday. You remember?
Oh, no. Oh, when you hired your furry friend to draw
Oh god.
the
Uh-oh.
picture.
I
Yeah.
commissioned someone to draw him as a furry.
Oh god.
I don't like that.
Oh,
That's
Jesus.
that's amazing.
Oh no.
Wow.
Not bad. They just drew him as a fox. That's it.
Good.
That's pretty cool, bro.
So I'm a furry, I guess now, boys.
From what we were saying before, are people here taking breaks from ATF before for extended
Yeah.
periods?
I know, Graggly, didn't you take a break for a while?
Yeah, I took a break. I think it was for 2 months. It was about like my personal health.
Yeah, I respect
The
that.
community I didn't really like. The one main
Yeah.
point was the lack of voice the normal player has.
Yeah.
Like these days, like LPMs and everything above decide everything. Like there's
Moderators.
moderators, yeah. There's just no more player voice. Maybe they can like sometimes get a new gun for like $35 on a stream, like a player decided gun, but there's just no more, you know.
It feels like there's some sort of inactivity with those same people too.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not saying that there's no player voice, but there's definitely a lot less than was in games
Oh
like
yeah.
Deep Winter. But like I remember being part of the CDF and being part of that event where we battled hard and we got to burn down the farmhouse, and I thought that was so cool. Never been able to be part of anything like that anymore.
I think it's a lot easier to do it with a smaller community,
Agreed.
but now with
Yeah.
Mirage being the big group of people it is, you can't really give everyone a voice or else the game's gonna
Unfortunately, I'm not blaming
fall
the
apart.
others.
I personally left the game for 2 months odd. I kind of just got a bit bored with it. Then just the story came to a bit of a halt. There's nothing to do. You just sat in CG all day, not doing anything. But then I think they've kind of started up the game a bit more by slowly introducing the coronavirus ATF edition, the riots, the unease within the wasteland. I think that kind of brings more life to the game. People have a reason to RP now. You see people staying away from outcasts, create these IC arguments, and it's actually pretty fun. Although everyone's IC shitting themselves, it's
My Marauder.
just fun to see something else to do other than CRP.
Yeah, my Marauder
true.
has been joining this like anti-CDF ran by Outcast kind of thing. It's pretty cool. There's
Oh yeah.
a lot of story to it.
I feel like there's another issue too, which is just the sense of permeation. Because there's like very little motivation to doing it. If you get into ATF and there's not a lot of people online, you don't have people with you that you explicitly brought with you just to play ATF. If you do that, it's
I
so
think-
hard to get into it now because you have to have someone with you. And if you're not, everyone's going to push you away. And then what are you going to do? Because everything you do by yourself, if you're just in a room by yourself and you're saying, I picked this up, who's going to know? You can take screenshots, but no one's going to care. And then what have you done? You've just wasted 3 hours of your life just saying you picked up some books.
I think a big thing is that to be more like to actually enjoy like Mirage now, I think you have to be a person of importance. You have to be a SEAL, HR in a group, or at least something like that. You have to actually have a purpose to maybe host for a faction, go out, have an actual deep storyline. Like I know people who enjoy Mirage the most. I had a friend who had a whole gang for I think a couple months, and he wrote 31 odd pages of a diary, of an IC diary, and he said that was one of the most fun things he'd ever done. And I think that's genuine. That's genuine fun that you can have on Mirage. But
Exactly
I think
what
the people,
do. It's experiencing and logging and trying to immerse yourself in the story that you're creating.
but I think just going out and shooting a few people isn't really that fun. And I think that's why a lot of people complain about ATF being really, really boring because they don't actually do anything apart from shooting a few people or stand around a CG. But I think the game now has got a bit more life and they're giving more story to it. People are starting to go back into it now and get more focused on it and not just sit in CG and a CRP.
Yeah.
I think the mods have done a good decision with what they've done so far. The events and everything, the fact that Ariel streamed it, things like that. Oh, I think that was all really good decisions. Got people more involved in the game.
That's
What,
a
like
good note to end this on. Like you have you have multiple different types of players. You have the players who play to win. The serious combat role players. I mean, if you go out and rob people and stuff, you're not a serious combat role player. I wouldn't consider you that. But if you're like turning every situation into combat or like playing to win, then you have the people who play for the story and everything. The people who are like every single player is writing a book, right? Except we're all writing a book together. That's here's an analogy for you. But and then you have the people in the middle who are just along for the ride. I have a couple friends like that. They're probably the best people to play with because it's a lot more fun to play with somebody who isn't gonna start a riot if their character dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think that's a thing that people need to really do more in Mirage, is that they need to understand that if their character dies, it's not the end of the world. It's like if you have a really developed character, you need to let them go at some point. Is that you can't have a developed character that never dies, because developed character needs to die at some point. The main character syndrome has gotten pretty bad in ATF, I think.
At the same time, there's a shit ton of throwaways nowadays. Like just
Yeah.
I don't like making throwaway characters. That's just like waste of time.
I don't care for the half throwaways who are like totally built for combat. Like if they died, no, like if they were forced to die, they would grieve for like a second, but like they still care about them, like to the point where they would fight to keep their character alive, but to the point where if their character died, they wouldn't care.
you kill one person, and then 5 minutes later they come back with a different hat and a different name, and they shoot you to death.
I've got to point something out real quick, if no one minds, right? I feel bad because we brought Shell on, and he hasn't been able to say that much, and I feel really bad about that, especially since the only time he's been able to talk has been about me. So I want to be able to talk about himself for a bit. So what happened to you after all that?
Well, I mean, I've been in the SEAL group since its creation.
Wait, really?
Yep, ever since Skeleton started it.
How many years ago was that?
That was back when Deep Winter first released. That was 2017.
Oh, Christ.
Man.
Nice.
Wow.
So what happened with SEALs before Deep Winter? Like, I remember in ATF 5 there was a SEAL suit in the Masterson bunker, I think. Like, did anybody play as SEALs?
Nobody really, I mean, besides ATF 3, nobody really ever played as SEALs. I think the spotlight came on them during Deep Winter when they started to begin, they became more streamlined. Got the spotlight. People wanted to play as them, and I think Skeleton was the first to get on the scene and ask for the grace of the LPMs to start a group, and they did.
That's really when the technological, I can't.
Technological. I can't even say it.
Technological.
I get what you're trying to. There you go. Yeah, that's a tongue twister.
That's when it all started. Like before then, it was just all basic, like modern. Like you can't have like rail guns and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
So, Shelsha, what would you say? What would you say your opinion is on current SEALs nowadays compared to what they were in Deep Winter or Deep Six?
I think the group's changed a lot, and personally, I'd like to say that it's for the better, but I feel like there's some changes that took place that shouldn't have happened. Personally.
So, would you say that SEALs are becoming more faction based now, or do you think they're staying more as a single person, not tied down to anything?
With the Mirage situation, I personally think it's more faction based. In the sense that you have more liberty as a faction SEAL than just a freelancer. But I mean, that doesn't stop people from grouping up. There's small cliques of SEAls that kind of tend to hang around, not affiliated faction SEAls, and it's good and all, but until Mirage passes and we get the new game, for example, I don't think we're gonna be seeing anything fresh or new. I'm excited for Redeker. Hopefully it turns out
Me
good.
too, dude. We're gonna have
Redeker is going to be fun. If you don't mind, Chad, I've got another question for you. What would you say your opinion is currently on the way SEALs combat RP? Not SEALs in general, as in the way people combat RP SEALs. As in, if someone were to walk up and start fighting with a SEAL, what's your opinion on that currently? Since I know a lot of people are trying to take out a bunch of SEALs.
I think ever since SEALs took the spotlight in the beginning of Mirage, it's kind of been an issue.
Yeah.
Me personally, I try to avoid combat unless I can, absolutely have to. But I think it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I think my personal opinion on seals is that it's too complicated, and that you can't have combat RP with seals because suddenly 70 different variables come into the equation. It's that I think the way seals should be done is that it should be very, very simple to understand, so that the average person doesn't get into an OC argument. I think the whole of ATF as a whole, well, Mirage mostly,
Yeah.
needs to be kind of revamped in the way that the whole thing needs to be made so much less more complicated.
Yeah.
I was
It's
just
all
about
like,
to say that. Yeah, it needs to
yeah,
apply
it's
to the
all
entire
OC
thing.
arguments.
Wait,
which
is it
I
true?
think,
Is it really? Is the
Go ahead.
success rate of like getting your application accepted, like, is it really like 3%?
So I'm an app sorter actually, and
Oh shit, for real?
yeah, it's the standards have gone up quite a bit, right? So ever since Mirage came out, everybody wants a piece, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Back in Deep Winter, when Skeleton had the group, I literally did a 10-minute application and I was in. Same
Damn.
day.
I know some people. I know one of my friends that I used to do dev work with. He used to. I think he applied 7 times over like 3 or 4 years to get in as a seal, and his
Jesus.
7th one went through. I was like, damn, bro.
I mean, that's kind of good if you think about it, because you don't want like everyone running around in a seal
Yeah,
suit.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I do have a question
Because I know that.
about application. I'm not going to ask for any answers. I just want to know, do you think a reputation that someone has can affect the result that they get for their application? Like, let's say they make the best app that anybody's ever seen. They make like Beethoven's 7th Symphony version of a seal app. And I probably got the wrong symphony. I don't know anything about music, but just imagine that I got that right.
Me either.
They make the best app ever, but they have a very sketchy reputation. There's been rumors passed around they're not a good person. They've got past moderation. Do you think that would eventually, would the commanders come together and think, this is a really good app, but I don't know if we want this person in the group? Would they deny it just based off that?
Well, absolutely. I mean, moderation's a huge part of the selection process. If we know somebody has a history of, I don't want to say being undesirable,
Causing
but
issues,
having
causing
these,
arguments.
causing issues, causing arguments, and then putting those together and trying to figure out if they will abuse the suit. Being a part of the SEALs isn't just about the suit; it's about the privilege that comes with having the suit. But I don't believe it's just for the army. You know, it's a faction, and in 3R, we're like a legitimate faction, the engineers.
Yeah.
It gives you a pretty high pedestal to roleplay on, but I honestly, it gets mundane after a while. I'll be honest here.
Yeah. Do you think that the community glorifies seals way over that they should be?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It's just because of the armor. They see the armor, but they don't see the character in the armor is the problem.
See, I think, because I always thought that being a seal would actually probably. See, I know a lot of people do it for the combat RP, that they're unkillable. But I always thought being a seal would probably be very fun on the character dev side. Being able to. Because I know I have a very limited knowledge of seals, but I'm pretty sure that they have to have limitations on themselves and having to keep themselves in top form, things like that, would probably give them quite a lot of character dev, and having to buy new parts for their suit because their suit's breaking down. It gives a whole lot of opportunities in one suit, which I think would be pretty cool.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of room for character development. Ever since the beginning of Mirage, I've held on to my character. I think it's coming to an end.
Oh yeah.
Here soon.
Speaking of your character, actually, do you remember what happened like after that whole drama? I know that you saw it happening, but like what happened to your character after that happened? Did they ever get in trouble? Were they part of it?
They never found out. I told the drone to target them, and then I just kind of like ducked out.
I remember David stuck with you for a bit. But,
Yeah.
I've got one more question because I just remembered this a long time ago back in Deep Winter. Do you remember the battle for how they turned the DMZ zone from Deep 6 into like a huge red space and the US CPF took it and then they had a big battle for that again? Were you one of the 3 SEALs that was part of that?
I was supposed to be the 4th, and I had a reason not to, for the sheer fact that the character's girlfriend at the time, who became his wife eventually, told him to stay behind, and it gnawed at his conscience, so he didn't show up. And the 3 that did show up, I'm pretty sure all died by that APC.
I have a secret to announce that may sound self-centered.
Uh-oh.
I was one of those SEALs.
Oh, jeez.
Oh no.
And it was actually Dawson, but he wasn't going by Dawson at that point.
And did
He
you
was-
die?
No, I don't think any of them died. I think I almost got hit by the APC, and then NATO started running down the bridge, and they started shooting at me.
APC.
And
Jesus.
I just left the other 2 SEALs, and I just ran back to Southside, and I abandoned the whole op because my SEAL knew it was going south.
Do you remember Tanamo
Tanamo?
back when he was in the group?
I do remember the name, but I don't remember what he did.
I know Tim though.
He was a part of the was it the 39th? And they were kind of like the bad guy SEALs.
It was the 39th, yeah. They had that huge thing.
And yeah, eventually, so like his character was like an engineer of some sorts at the time, and he was actually executed the same day the raid was supposed to happen by the USCPF.
Dang.
That's one of the other reasons why he didn't show up.
Oh man,
Yeah, they shot him in the head and
they just completely
tossed him off the bridge.
Damn.
Black Ops assassinated him.
That's
Cold
cold,
War
man.
style.
To be
Yeah.
fair, though, we were trying to make bombs behind their backs to use against them, though.
I've seen you walking around with like a character in a yellow suit. What's the story behind them?
Oh, that's Darwin. So originally he was a raider. So he was born in Tijuana, Mexico, and of course he didn't really have a very good life there because it's Mexico.
It's Mexican.
Post Flash, wandered up and down the I-25 as a raider, and then came to Arizona. Originally he wasn't even supposed to be a SEAL, but I kind of changed the lore a little bit around that character.
Is he that character that joined up with that BNL squad as a mercenary?
Oh, you guys saw that video, huh?
Oh, that
I
video.
may
the
or may
PNL
not.
squad.
I may or may not be a HR in that group, but we don't have to talk about
I
that.
feel like
So
I feel like players need to see like past the SEAL suit, if you know what I mean. Like they need to like know that they need to see the character. They need to realize it's not all about just having overpowered armor and combat RP. It's about the character behind that. And yeah, sorry, I'm kind of tarting it right now.
So I've actually got a question for Shell. So with SEALs, do they have to RP realistically with training their body, eating well, things like that, or is that just a thing that is optional that they recommend you do?
Yeah, absolutely. It's highly encouraged. I do it for my descendant for the sheer fact that they don't have a neural chip, so they have to fight against like a delay. So like sheer strength can help negate that. So I RP quite frequently, like weightlifting, IC and shit, because they have to keep physically building their body, or else they're not going to be able to use the suit optimally.
Don't SEALs have like a cooldown on how long they can wear their SEAL suit per day, or is that a myth?
So I guess it depends on the person, really. So logically, you wouldn't wear it for too long, right? It's a temperature controlled suit or a climate controlled suit, but you wouldn't want to wear it all day, you know. So I tend to have my characters slip in and out of the armor every now and then, within intervals. They should definitely not be wearing it 24/7.
What do you think would happen to a character like a remnant that just constantly wore the suit over and over and over again? Do you think they'd like have some bodily deformations, like growing, like their skin starts to welt or something? Like, what would happen to them?
It depends. Like, are you talking like 24/7, like never get out of the suit unless you have to like use the bathroom, or?
Not even for that, just never getting out of it. Constantly being paranoid they'll get hurt if they get out of it, just using it as a shell for protection.
I can see a lot of physical harm coming from that, as well as mental harm, because you grow a dependency. Like my character Darwin, he's grown a dependency to the suit, a very unhealthy dependency, to the point to where when he was put in a situation by the USCPF, kind of taken hostage for a little bit, it kind of opened his eyes. Like, I'm like nothing without this armor. I've grown too dependent. He was scared. Yeah, I feel like it can be both physical and mental.
All right, awesome. That's the last of my questions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't think I got any more.
Been a lot of fun talking with you guys tonight. We had so much fun that this episode has been almost an hour.
Yeah,
this
was really enjoyable actually. I never I never knew you were like one of the first SEALs though. That's really cool.
Yeah, I've been around.
It is now 4 a.m. for me, and I have had 5 cups of tea. I am going to sleep.
All right, man. Yeah, thanks for being on tonight, guys.
It's been a lot of fun, guys.
Hey, no problem.
Come on.
Very fun.
Awesome having you guys.